older women. Not old women, don't worry. Verse 3, Paul's not writing to old women. He's writing to vibrant, beautiful, godly, older women. Women that have gals in the church that are younger than them, that they can invest in. And if you have those that are younger than you, I'm not in that category. Hey, if you are 10 or 20 years older, your kids are now graduating, moving out of the house, or just have moved out of the house, and there's others that have babies on the hip yet, you have a call here. The older women likewise, so in addition to all of this temperate faith, hope, and love exhortation to the men, likewise, the older women, that they also be reverent in behavior. Not slanderers or, gossips and busybodies. That they should live in a way that honors God, rather. So they're reverent, living in a way that honors God. They're not gossips. They're not given to much wine, but they're teachers of good things. Teachers of good things. Primarily, then, in verse 4, this is what they teach, that they teach or admonish and encourage the young women. And then halfway through that verse, we'll stop and we'll consider the young women in a moment. But ultimately, these older women are to admonish the younger women to love their husbands, to love their children. Here's this beautiful picture of an older woman who still has much to do. Oh, it's so much harder on a mom than it is a dad when the kids grow up and move out. Dads are like, okay, I'll talk to you at Christmas. Moms are like, our adult son didn't call me this morning. We talked for 2 hours last night, but he hasn't called yet this morning. And her heart just, I see it with my dear wife. And our son's been gone now for about 4 years. And, she misses him so much. And I'm always having to just remind her that we still have 2 in the home and they're about to go. And it's hard on her. We're hoping they can afford to live in Bozeman. And I have to move away. And it's hard, but sadly, when so much time can be spent in a woman's life on raising and caring for the kids, when they go out, 2 things can happen. One, they can become a drunkard. They can just be given to evening wine so much that they just are kind of trying to soothe the sadness that way. And then also they can become gossips and busybodies, just critical of everybody else and always talking about other people's affairs. And so that's why to the older women, they were not to be given to much wine. They weren't to be drunkards. And they weren't to be slanderers. 1 Timothy 5:13 talks about the younger widows, like those that were under 60 years of age. He said that they shouldn't be taken into the number. They shouldn't be provided for by the church until maybe at least over 60, until they really were in need. Because verse 13 of 1 Timothy 5 says, besides this, they learn to be idle once they're older, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but also gossips and busybodies, saying things which they ought not. It can be the sad reality of the latter years, and it should never be. Rather, there's much for you to do, even if your kids are gone. Or if you've never had children and you have this life to live, and what do you do between 50 and 90? Well, the Lord has much for you to do. Your life's not over. You're vibrant and useful in the kingdom of God. And your primary call? Teach, admonish. Be an encouragement to those younger than you to walk with the Lord and to follow Him, especially to the young moms and young wives that need some encouragement because the task is tough. But can I point out to you what Paul said to these elder women? He says to them that they, at the end there of verse 3, should be teachers of good things, good things. In Genesis 1:31, then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. Indeed, it was very good. In the evening, morning, with the sixth day. And God sees creation and it's good. And mankind sees creation. And we might say the rocks and the stars are beautiful. And the trees are glorious. But we might not say God's design for man and woman is good as God designed it. But older women need to admonish younger women that your time's not being wasted when you're with your kids. It's a thankless task. And it can be very difficult loving that husband of yours, caring for those kids of yours. But oh, is it worth it? You'll rejoice in a time to come. It's hard right now. And it's one thing coming from me. Oh, it's another thing altogether when it comes from an older woman to a younger woman. And she puts her arm around that young gal and just encourages her. This is so worth it. How many of you had a mom? How many of you are thankful for your mom? Come on. Listen. Dads can't be moms. Dads can't be moms. Gender is not a social construct. You see a bear with her cubs. Why doesn't she have her husband do it? The social construct of the bears. The bears. All the guys are sitting around drinking beer talking about the bears, You take the cubs, honey. She's like, I don't want to do it anymore. No, come on. Is it not creation that teaches us so? And is that not what a woman is called to do? A man cannot be a mom. He doesn't have a womb to give birth, breast to nurse, hips to carry the baby. He doesn't have supersonic hearing, the inner clock. He can't do two things at once, 20 things at once. He's not filled with this inner compassion of God that the Lord has written into the DNA of a woman. Genesis 1 says both men and women have been made in the image of God. Women are more compassionate than men. Where do women get their added compassion? From being made in the image of God. And so, transitioning from older women to younger women, here's the call for younger women. To love your husbands, to love your children, to be discreet, which means self-controlled, to live wisely, to be chaste or pure. Inner purity, inner beauty, so much more important than outer beauty. Let not your beauty be merely outward, young ladies. Arranging the hair, wearing gold, putting on fine apparel. No. Much rather let it be the inner beauty of the heart, the incorruptible spirit of a quiet and gentle nature, which is very precious in the sight of God. Pure homemakers, busy at home, working at home. Since when did the term homemaker, the word homemaker, become a filth word? Undesirable? Let's think about it for a second. Let's just take the second half off. Let's just think about the word home for a second. What comes up in your mind when you think of home? You want to be there? You want it to be a blessed place? You know who makes home home, right? When you're a kid, you want mom home. until you're a teenager and you want to get into something you shouldn't be getting into, then you hope she's not home. Kids want their moms home. They want to be near their moms. If we take it, we flip it around and think about things from other people's perspective. Oh, there's the gospel for you. How about you put yourself in the life of a child, 0 to 18? Where does that child want mom? Near. On Wednesday night, we had the Hershey family sharing. And Megan's holding their daughter, and Grant's is like 2 feet away. She holds, and the baby's like, no, I want to be back with mom. You know, we also had Jacob and Callie sharing, and their youngest pipes off like, Mom, you're like 30 feet away. This will not do. And she wasn't crying for dad. Homemakers, but it's tough at home. Kids want their moms home, and moms go batty, like, I got to get out of here. I remember when Stephen was 4 years old and Cheryl was going to a pastor's wife's conference, and I took Stephen. I'm going to be there all week. I mean, I'm a pretty fun dad, you know. It's like, but I'm taking, and Cheryl's going away. We drop her at the airport, and on the way back, Stephen in the back seat, I hear him. He says, why do they make her go to those things? I said, well, she doesn't have to go. They don't make her go. And then he goes, so she wants to leave me? And I'm like, pretty much. That's the way that goes. So, older women tell younger women that there's value in being at home. Now, this is not some sort of legalistic thing. I've not forgot chapter 1 that talks about salvation by legalism. This doesn't mean that a woman cannot work or she cannot have other things that she's engaged in life. But what this is saying is that the Bible highly values a mother and tells women to wholeheartedly embrace being a wife and a mother should she be married and have children, and that she will find her highest worth there. It's not a value assessed, but it's a role that's assigned, and she's been designed specifically for this task. Woman will not find her highest value in leading men, but in loving her husband and loving her children. 1 Timothy 2:12, Paul said, I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man, but to be in silence. It's one of the verses in the New Testament that caused this whole generation to fall backwards. Like, how could you even read the Bible if it says something like that? Paul is just simply saying that this is not woman's role to have authority over men, to be a teacher of men. But rather, 1 Timothy 2:15, just 3 verses later, nevertheless, she will be saved or find her highest worth. That word saved, sozo, doesn't always mean saved like we would say saved from my sin. She's not saved by childbearing. There's no eternal salvation by saving children, but her worth. She finds her highest worth in childbearing if they, her kids, continue in faith, love, and holiness with self-control. It's the heart of it that's at stake here. What about the woman who is unmarried? Where does she find her highest worth if she doesn't have a husband to love or children to rear? Easy. The Bible makes it so plain and clear. She was unmarried like Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, has the treasure pouring at all this God-given affection at his feet and unto his people, and she finds her greatest worth there. She who is unmarried cares about the things of the Lord, how she may please the Lord. She who is married has to care about the things of this world, how she may please her husband. And so for the unmarried woman or the woman who is married but does not have children, her worth is every bit as much dignified, and she finds her greatest living in loving and serving her bridegroom, Jesus. And when she recognizes that she's been made this way, it's a glorious thing. Women's lib of the 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, women's liberation, bra burning. Women were not liberated, enslaved, rather. We do not look at ourselves in the mirror, and this is for men and women alike, and say, I do not like the person God made me to be. No. We say, Lord, thank you for creating me in your image. And if in any way I've fallen short of it, have mercy. Thank you, Jesus, that you died for me to forgive me. And now let my life be yours, Lord. Let me think about this world the way you think about this world, that I might live for your glory.